Appreciate you all tuning in, and thanks again for all the hearts. Do my best to answer your questions if and when I can. A lot of my focus is going to go onto the art here, and I'm going to try to share with you my process and my thought process for why I do what I do with my inks and colors. So people have asked about when it comes to inking, how to do the thicks and thins. And part of it is you keep in mind the light source. Inking is translating those pencil lines into crisp and clean, oftentimes a crisp and clean sort of line artwork. Especially this was important back in the earlier days of comics because of the printing process before things went all computer and digital, that they needed the stark black and white lines for the printing process. So inking was a very, and still is a very important part of comics. But nowadays, thanks to the miracles of technology, comics can be shot straight from pencils or paints if desired. But you want to consider your light source and also create a sense of depth. So right now I'm doing the general contours of Iceman's head, his ears, a little bit of detail here. I try to keep things thin for the inner details. I only have one size blue micron, so for the tinier details I'm going to have to get really light with my touch. But I want to keep in mind what I want to pop off into the foreground and recess into the background. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're inking, is how to make the all the different elements of the character you're drawing work amidst all the background. Now, of course, this piece doesn't really have a background, but it is something I still keep in mind, because if a background were to be added, I'm keeping in mind the entire environment, no matter what. So there are lots of ins and outs towards inking, and there's so many different inking styles, whether you're pen, nib, brush, and each one offers their own approach and are great for different techniques. So it's good to learn as much as you can. And a lot of it is going to come with tons of practice. Non-stop practice. And even once you become a pro, guys, you're still going to practice. You're still going to train, you're still going to study, because you want to keep your art fun and fresh and find new ways to draw things so you don't get stagnant, and then your viewers don't get bored with what you're drawing. At least that's my thought and opinion. Subject to change. But you're always going to be learning something, always going to be practicing, because there's always new things to learn and new ways to draw things differently and or better. Would I accept a Nightcrawler post-it you made? Oh, you drew a Nightcrawler on a post-it. Would I accept it? Of course I'd accept it. If you ever see me at a convention, feel free to stop by my table. I'd love to meet you and love to receive that from you. That's very kind of you. I have actually a collection of fan art that fans have given me. I always bring them home from the convention, add them to the stack of art. In fact, I got so many pieces now I need to create like a portfolio. Maybe someday if I get a big enough office, I'll try putting some of them up on the wall. What kind of paper do I suggest for drawing comics? For you to use when drawing your comics? Bristol board. I like to use 11x17 Strathmore Bristol board. I think it's the 300 or 400 series. They actually have some that's specially made for comics, so just look up Strathmore 11x17 Bristol board and you'll find the comic version or the comic style Bristol board. I like to use the smooth side, and you can get it pre-ruled with all the blue registration marks on it. I don't get that because of my work process. I don't need the registration marks for the way I do my art, but you have options out there. Just make sure you get some Bristol board. It's nice and thick. You don't want to use printer paper. That's going to tear and rip and wrinkle way too easy. You want something nice and sturdy like a Bristol board. And Strathmore makes a great Bristol board. The vast majority of us comic creators use Bristol or Strathmore Bristol board. And this is actually a Bristol board as well. This is a Canson recycled 9x12 Bristol board. Where do you get your blank comic covers? You can get those at comic shops or online. I've actually gotten some off of eBay. But those are comics that a retailer can order, variants that they can order and offer for sale. So yeah, check with your local comic shop to see if they have any available. Or like I said, look online. Do you have to go to art school? I would probably say no, you don't have to, but it can benefit you. So I would encourage people that if they can get some art training, whether they go to art school or take some art classes, having someone instruct you can really help you see things in a new way and help you improve your work faster. When I was a kid, I thought I could break into comics on sheer talent alone, and I tried. And I might have been able to get there, but I realized it was going way too slow to get that big break, to get my big job in comics. It just wasn't happening soon enough, and I didn't want to spend the rest of my life. I didn't want to keep working at a movie theater and, waiting for that big break to happen, going to conventions only every 2 or 3 times a year to meet editors. It wasn't happening fast enough. So I realized one afternoon I need to go to art school. I'm going to learn things faster and hopefully get a job faster. So I took the 2-year commercial art program at the Art Institute of Dallas. And 1 year and 3 days, 3 days, I graduated in December of 1992. January of 1994. So all of 1993 into the first few days of 1994, few weeks, actually I should say not a few days, but a few weeks, Image Comics had formed, and Rob Liefeld, creator of X-Force and Deadpool, had just, started up this new company with guys like Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri and Todd McFarlane, saw my work and liked it and hired me. So I got hired about 1 year after I graduated art school. Now I could have continued to try to break in on sheer talent alone, but that probably would have taken me 5+ years. So going to art school helped me shave off, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It all depends. So I encourage people, if you can afford it, if it works for you, if it's possible for you to do, get some schooling. Learn new things. You're going to be learning all your life in your art anyway. If you can afford some instruction, get it. It's going to hopefully propel you further, faster, and that is nice. I was glad I broke into the industry when I did, instead of having to wait an extra 5+ years. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Your experience may vary. What technique do you use for refilling your Copics? I use the booster needle, generally. Sometimes I'll drip it in on the broad end of the broad tip, marker tip, and let the ink roll in. But generally, I like to just pull that broad tip out, insert the booster needle, and give it a couple of squeezes on the refill bottle to refill my Copics, which I pretty much have to do after every con, if not during the con, because I'm using so many colors so frequently throughout the weekend. So very often refilling my Copics. Am I coming to Salt Lake Comic Con in September? Right now, it doesn't look like I'll be able to. I have spoken with people from Salt Lake, so there are plans to get me out there. I'd like to come in September, but it's the weekend after the La Mole Comic Con in Mexico City, which I'll be at. So I'd only have one day at home before Salt Lake. So I don't know if it's going to work out for me in September. I need to double check with them one more time to see what's possible. So if I can't make it out here this September, which is not looking incredibly possible, there is a chance of maybe sometime next year. It's definitely a con I want to come visit. So, and a nice thing is when I met the representative of Salt Lake Comic Con, he had said that you guys had been asking for me, and they respond to their comic attendee requests. So thank you so much for asking for me, and that's just a sign there that convention promoters do hear you, can hear you guys, and respond to who it is y'all want to come out. So they're extending invites to the people that you're asking for. So thank you so much for that support, gang. I really appreciate it. And if you want me to come to your neck of the woods, whether it be here in the US or across the world, let your convention promoter know I want Todd Nauck and his wife to come to our con. And hopefully they will extend me an invitation. And you can do that for any of your favorite creators, not just me, but whoever it is. Let them know we want to see these people. Is there any character you like drawing outside of Marvel and DC? My creator-owned characters, for sure. But yeah, I imagine there are. I just really haven't had many opportunities to draw characters. Doctor Who characters. I like drawing the Doctor Who characters. I want to draw more of them. So yeah, definitely. There are definitely characters I like drawing outside of Marvel and DC. But superheroes are my jam. But I'm not restricted solely to superheroes. Calvin and Hobbes? Love Calvin and Hobbes. Never tried drawing Calvin and Hobbes, though. Never really occurred to me to try giving them a go. I should do that sometime, see what they'd look like in my style. That'd be pretty interesting. Because Bill Watterson's style, his version is so iconic and what we're so used to put him through the Todd Nauck filter would be pretty unique. Besides superheroes, what cartoon character would I like to draw? Let's see. I should try drawing Hank Hill, since that's one of my all-time favorite cartoons, King of the Hill. I should try drawing Hank Hill sometime. That would be fun. I haven't done many watercolors on here. Am I moving away from it? No, not at all. Not moving away from watercolor at all. It's just sometimes I do watercolors, sometimes I do Copic. It's whatever the mood strikes me or the type of piece I'm doing. So have not moved away from watercolor whatsoever. And when I'm doing watercolor, I'm not moving away from Copic. I like both. But thank you for the question. Am I going to do any other Periscopes tomorrow or this week? You know what? I have no idea. So stay tuned to my social networks. Stay tuned to Twitter, especially, so that if I do another Periscope, you don't miss it. But even if you do miss it, you can always watch the rebroadcast here on the app for 24 hours, and then I do my best to upload these to my YouTube channel. Though I am about 5 or 6 Periscopes behind, they will, most all of those will get posted eventually. In fact, the Deadpool one I did back in May should post hopefully sometime in the near future. Ideally this week if it works out. So So if y'all saw my Deadpool one and want to see it again, it's on its way. And if you missed my Deadpool one, which was my 3rd Periscope broadcast ever, it'll be your first time to see it. So you'll get to see me pencil, ink, and color a Deadpool sketch in real time. Yeah, because there was a bunch of questions right there. Have I ever done any Hellboy drawings? I sure have. In fact, I did one of the Hellboy Project 100 covers for the Hero Initiative. You can, it just sold at auction on eBay I believe it was last month, yeah, July. I think it was early July. Went for a decent price to help raise money for the Hero Initiative, and all those covers will be collected in the Hellboy 100 Project book. So you'll see my Hellboy featured in there as well. In fact, if you did a search for Todd Nauck Hellboy, you'll probably see it. It's a wraparound cover that I drew of a color Hellboy illustration on a Hellboy Hellboy Hero Initiative sketch cover. Love doing the 100 projects for Hero Initiative. 1, it's a lot of fun, and 2, it helps a great cause. And if you're not familiar with Hero Initiative, be sure to stop by their Facebook page and learn more about what they do. They also have booths at a majority of the cons, especially the bigger named cons, the more widely attended cons, and you can learn more about what they do, and they have a lot of great art and stuff to offer, and all the proceeds go to benefit creators, like legendary creators in need, helping with medical bills or mortgages or daily life stuff. So it's a great charity to help the creators that have paved the way for us newer guys in the industry. The longtime veterans, the guys who pretty much created the Marvel and DC universes back when I was a little kid. Before I was even born. Heck, some of those guys were working before I was even here. So I really appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate y'all hanging out here with me. I appreciate y'all watching. Thanks for the comments, and thanks for all these questions. I wish I could answer them all. I'll try to do my best to answer whichever ones I can. A lot of my focus is here on the art, though, but I definitely appreciate all the questions and support. Which character is this? This is Iceman from the X-Men, one of my top 5 favorite X-Men. This will be working on the inks right now, and I'll be doing the Copic color here in not too long from now. We're making some good time here on Iceman. Maybe I'll be able to eat dinner at a normal time tonight. My wife will appreciate that. How much time does it take me to complete a full page of a comic? Depends on what's going on in that page, but generally it takes me about a full day, which is anywhere from 8 to 12 hours to pencil and ink a full comic page, on average. Then that's roughly speaking. Sometimes it can take me more. Sometimes, rarely does it take me less. I'd say I'm lucky if I can get a page done. So, of pencils and inks in a day, and that's just what it comes out to in the average. Sometimes I just do days where it's just penciling days, some days are just inking days, some days are just layout days, but it all kind of shakes down into an average of 1 full page a day. 1 full finished page from start to finish, I should say. Do I always ink my own pencils? I pretty much do now. Back in 2010, I started doing my own inks and really found that I enjoyed the process, and have been inking a vast majority of my work since then. Let's see, I did was it Spectacular Spider-Man 1000 issue that was inked by Mark Pennington, who I thought did a really cool job, but that was because the deadline was so tight. I wasn't able to pencil and ink it, so they had to bring in an inker for that one. But generally, a majority of my work has been, I've done my own inks, and like I said, I really do love it. And I like to do my own inks because then I don't have to pencil quite as tightly, because a lot of that excitement and energy is going to come in the inking stage. So I don't want to kill the energy by penciling it overly tightly. Hey Todd, how's it going? It's going well. How's it going with you? Appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me. Hey Todd, what's a good reference for anatomy? Check anatomy or life drawing greats. My favorite is Bern Hogarth, Dynamic Anatomy. That was the one I'd suggest. But there are lots of others out there. Andrew Loomis is another one that's very popular. Another classic guy. You get a little water here, excuse me. Can we talk about my sitcom? If you're new to my broadcasts, a few broadcasts back, somehow we got onto this topic of me having my own sitcom. Actually, people asked, what would I do if I wasn't drawing comics? What would be my career if I was not pursuing a career in comic books, drawing comics, which is what I love to do. If you're new to my art, and you're just discovering me here on Periscope or on YouTube, once I post this to YouTube, I'm a professional comic book artist, been doing it for a lot of years, working on books like Teen Titans, Young Justice, Spider-Man, and most recently Nightcrawler of the X-Men. But if I weren't doing that for a living, what would I do? My answer in that Periscope broadcast was talk show host, or not talk show host, reality TV game show host, like a Survivor type show or Amazing Race, or sitcom dad on a Disney Channel sitcom. Those would be my dream jobs if I were not drawing comic books. So then it became this running joke of what my show would be, my sitcom would be, and what it would be called. So yeah, you're welcome to talk about it if you'd like. The person who asked that question a moment ago, before I did this long explanation of giving everyone else context of what your question was actually in reference to. And if you're just tuning in, I'm using a blue Pigma Micron marker because Iceman is mostly blue, and I thought it would make for a fun, cool, unique effect for his iciness, as opposed to using black for the line art. What TV series am I watching? Doctor Who. I'm almost done with, about halfway through season 7. Just met Clara Oswald. So in present day, not her first 2 appearances, where she, well, I don't want to give anything away in case people are just now tuning into Doctor Who themselves. We want to be a spoiler-free zone. But just met Clara Oswald. We'll just leave it at that, and in present day. And so looking forward to getting caught up and meeting the 12th Doctor in season 8. So that is one of the shows I like. And gosh, what else? Well, it's summertime, so there aren't a lot of shows. So Big Brother, I watched the Big Brother. Hoping Johnny Mac makes it through this week. If you follow the Big Brother live feeds, no spoilers, please. Like I said, spoiler-free zone. Do I watch House of Cards? Nope, never seen House of Cards. Is it good? What's the time when you ink your work compared to your pencils, to your full pencils? Interesting question. I wouldn't even be able to say. When it's time for me to do my work, I just hunker down and I get her done. So and it's always can be such a different approach for me. It's almost an unanswerable question for me. But I spend 8 to 12 hours a day working, so whatever I can get done in that time, as much work as I can get done in that time, is my my focus there. So let's see. Let's see. A few more little snow bits here, and then we get Iceman's face. Now I'm going to do his belt buckle in black, just to give it a little extra pop. Oh, hey, it's Hudson from Comic-Con. I came out to meet you and your family because y'all couldn't get tickets in. It's great to see you, or hear from you, Hudson. I guess you can see what I'm doing, but I can't see you still. But glad you came by. Glad you posted, Hudson. It was great meeting you and your mom and your friends. I hope y'all had a great time at San Diego Comic-Con. Glad it worked out that I could come out and meet you and take a photo. Thanks for bringing your Nightcrawlers by for me to sign as well. I appreciate that support, man. So good to hear from you. Do I have any wrist issues? Not yet. No wrist issues yet. My brain gives out a lot quicker than my wrist or hand. How do I keep my inks from going static over my pencils? Well, it's the line weights. Keeping the line weights in varying size, and not letting not getting too heavy-handed. Really just letting there be life in the inks, and that takes a lot of practice and kind of takes a spark you kind of have to discover. So continue practicing your inks to achieve the life that you want in your lines, so it doesn't get too static. Yeah. If your inks get static, that's a dead line, and can really, a dead space line, not a dead line like having to get your work done, but a line that has no life, and that can really sap the energy out of the illustration. So varying line weights, and not overthinking things. But it takes a lot of practice to get to that point. You got to do a lot of thinking to the point where you can not overthink. So as long as you're inking or practicing your inks on a regular basis, daily if possible, then you're on the right track. A lot of my focus is going here onto getting his face inked, so it's a little more challenging to see the questions. Favorite comic? X-Men comics. Huge X-Men fan. Alright, so put a little more icy details in his fingers here. Am I a Daredevil fan? For the most part, I've read a number of his comics. I haven't watched the TV show, the Netflix show yet, but I'm sure I'll get to it at some point, especially with the other Netflix shows on the way. You're going to give me fan art of Nightcrawler at Comic-Con. Well, I appreciate that. I look forward to meeting you. Well, that's great. A car's alarm is going off here during the broadcast. Oh, glad that didn't stick around for too long. That really sucked on when this goes up on YouTube. To have a car honking incessantly. Alright, so we just about got the ink squared away here. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a wrap-up Q&A after the illustration, just to answer a few of your questions, since I'm not able to really catch too many here while I'm inking. But again, I appreciate y'all coming by, and thanks for all the hearts, guys. The hearts really mean a lot. That's like a Periscope currency for us Periscopers. So you've probably seen the top Periscope people have like millions and millions of hearts, so I'm nowhere near that. But all the hearts you guys give me. It means a lot. So thanks for liking what I'm doing. I do appreciate that support. So thank you very, very much. Hope y'all are having a great summer. Hope there's a comic book convention in your town. Y'all had a chance to go check that out. I was in Boston for the first time a few weeks ago, and it was a really, really amazing convention and an opportunity to meet a lot of great people. How do you give hearts? You just tap on the right-hand corner where you see that little number, the 219. That's what at least it's 219 on my phone at this time. You just tap right there, and then you're giving hearts. Have I drawn Spawn? Yes, I drew Spawn in Bad Rockin' Company #6, one of the early comics of my career when I was working for Rob Liefeld. Have not drawn Spawn really since then. Actually, I've probably done some commission sketches of Spawn at conventions, but I have not really taken the time to do an illustration like this for Spawn. Do I like any Gundam Wing or Robotech in anime? Have I ever drawn that before? You know, I really have not seen any of the Gundam or Robotech stuff. I remember Robotech being big when I was a kid, but I lived out in this little tiny East Texas town, and we did not get the Dallas channel. We got some of the Dallas channels, but not the one Dallas channel that aired Robotech. So that is like a gap in my geek childhood. You know, I just never really got to watch Robotech. I've never tried drawing any of that type of stuff. I appreciate it. I think it looks cool, but I just don't know from it. So I never really watched it, and I definitely, yeah, I've seen like episodes since then. Like I have friends who had it like on VHS in the 90s, and I tried watching it, but it just was so continuity heavy, or it seemed like it was, that it was too difficult to try to get into watching it on a regular basis. So there are the full inks here for Iceman. So I used a little black pigment micron there for his X-Men belt buckle. Now I'm going to take my Mars plastic eraser, which is being worn down to a bit of a nub here. I'm going to have to get a new one. But Dylan, this will work fine to get this done. Someone asked there, am I a gamer? No, I would not consider myself a gamer. Now, I do have I have an Xbox 360. I know that's starting to become a bit out of date, but do have an Xbox 360, and I play occasionally. You know, I'll play video games with some friends. You know, I'll go over to my former Young Justice inker, Larry Stucker. I'll go over to his house, and he and his wife and me and my wife will play Mario Kart, which is actually a lot of fun. I really do enjoy that game. And sometimes Larry and I will play Call of Duty, but we haven't had much time to do that here the past year or so. But aside from that, you know, I really don't play a lot of video games, so I would definitely not consider myself a gamer. Are there any gamers in the house? Have I ever met Ken Lashley? I have. It's been a long time since I've seen Ken, but I definitely have met Ken. He and I are Facebook friends. I love his art. I think he does fantastic work. But have not had a chance to see or chat with Ken in some time. Let's see. Do I like the X-Men series? If so, would I like to see a second season with Apocalypse? Oh, are you talking about Wolverine and the X-Men? I enjoyed that. My favorite is probably X-Men Evolution, though. I really loved X-Men Evolution. I'd probably say of all the X-Men cartoons, that's my favorite one. I just thought it was so well drawn. I thought the stories were cool, and I loved how they introduced so many mutants into that, like especially New Mutants. I thought that was really cool. All right. So I'm getting as much of the pencil line off because I don't want to go over that with Copics, because the Copics will trap the pencil line underneath. So I'll make sure I get this thoroughly erased. Let's see. Not 90s X-Men? I'm assuming you're talking about the 90s X-Men cartoon. Didn't get to see the whole series of that. I need to catch that. I need to watch that in its entirety from beginning to end to see how I feel about that one. Heck, I remember when it first aired, When it first aired on Fox, the 90s X-Men cartoon, the first X-Men cartoon, some of the special effects hadn't even been finished when it went to air, like some of like Storm's lightning bolts and stuff. So it kind of threw me off a little bit at the beginning. Didn't really care for the animation style necessarily. Thought it looked a little. Some of the black areas were a little too heavy in the characters, which translates well for comics, but I didn't know if it really worked for my taste in animation. But I like to rewatch it just for the stories of it. I want to see how they utilize the different X-Men history in that cartoon. So I'd love to watch that cartoon now here as an adult with a different eye and different opinion. All right. So if you're just tuning in, working on an Iceman from the X-Men piece here. Iceman was one of my favorite X-Men, and I'm going to show y'all my secret Iceman technique. It's a technique I kind of discovered on experimenting, and it's essentially going to involve your cool grays, so get your cool 0 through 5, and your light blues. I use a B01, a little bit of the B01, but mostly the B000. Hopefully this is full enough to get us through tonight's Copic color. So right now I'm going to start with about a C2 for a base, and try to see how much of this we can get done. Don't know if I can finish the whole thing. Oh, excuse me, but I'll see what I can do. See how much we can square away here. So what I do is put down a base of this warm, or not warm, this is cool. So that at the top, cool gray, sculpting in the different angles of his face and head. Light source kind of coming from mostly the right hand side this way, so I'm going to put a little bit more of a shadow here on the left. Excuse me, I better get a drink of water here, I've been talking too much. Between the Q&A broadcast earlier and then this broadcast here, I've been talking way more than I usually do in a given day while doing my art. So like I said, this cool gray here is just a base, just my base coat. We're going to be layering in more colors on top of this. I make it look easy? Well, you know what? It comes with a lot of practice. I've had years and years of practice to get to this point here, and I hope to get to other stages in my art in years to come. So that's why I encourage people to practice every day. It doesn't just doesn't start off easy. You have to work at it. That's why it looks easy, is because we're working all the time to master our craft. So no getting around practicing. You got to do it if you want to achieve certain levels in your art. And even then, once you achieve certain levels in your art, you're going to want to achieve newer levels and try new things and discover new ways to take your art to new places so it stays fresh and exciting and fun to do each day, you know? Especially if you do this for a career. You want to keep it fun for you to do, because then that translates to the viewers. That's fun for you guys to look at, is the main goal, in my opinion. At least that's my approach to it. Who's my easiest and hardest to draw? I'm assuming you're talking about characters. Who are the easiest characters and hardest characters to draw? Probably say for me, Spider-Man is easiest to draw, and hardest is probably Galactus. Fantastic Four villain Galactus is probably the hardest to draw, or at least most challenging to draw. So I've almost got the base coat here on the on Iceman. Appreciate all the comments and questions. I'm sorry if I'm not able to answer too many of them right now. Like I said, I'll probably do a really quick Q&A here at the end of the show. That Q&A might not make it to YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube, sorry that there's probably not a Q&A here that transferred over, but just the art. Oops, let me get Iceman's hand on here and try to answer some of y'all's questions in kind of a rapid fire as best I can here on Periscope. If you are watching this on YouTube, come follow me on Periscope so you can watch live and post your comments and questions live. Maybe I'll be able to answer one in real time. Or more. Answer more. 1 or 2. 3 or 4 or 5. What makes drawing Galactus difficult? The complexity of his design and those ginormous plates that stick off his ears. Pretty much need a drafting table to draw that guy. And then circle templates for the different ellipse templates for the different portions of his costume that requires circles and ellipses. So that's why I find Galactus. And then that helmet is enormous too, not just the thing sticking off the side, but it's just a really tall, long, big helmet. All right, so there's our. We'll handle the snow effects later. Right now, we'll just focus on Iceman. So there's the initial C2, cool 2. Cut in with a little cool 3 just to shadow some of the areas up, like underneath his eyes, on the side of his nose, on the side of the ear here, along this jaw, underneath the nose, under the lip, chin. Just going to drop in a little bit of shadow, just a little bit for now, because we're about to hit the blending stage. That's the reason why I like Copic so much, is their blendability. So we're just going to cut in with a little shadow here. There'll be more shadow to come. When doing my ice, it's really a lot about the layering of color, layering of the marker ink over and over and over to create the desired shade and colors and shapes that I want. That's my personal approach. I think probably other Copic artists do it as well, but we all have kind of our own style and approach to our marker application. All right, so I've got some shadow cut in here. Now, so pretty much this is a grayscale looking Iceman we got going on here. Now, what takes this to a whole nother ice level is now taking my light blue, and I'm going to go over all this gray with the light blue. And it's going to start to create a grayish bluish sort of look effect here. So it's not just straight up light blue. It's got some shadow to it, so a little depth to it, and it's really fun to do, to see how the colors will now, the gray and the blue will now blend together to make this new bluish, light bluish gray color. And some of the blue cuts into the white, so you get some more brighter light blue parts, but starts, in my opinion, starts to create this kind of icy effect. Like, you know, ice has all these, it's transparent and has all these different aspects to it, you know, the different shapes and maybe air bubbles, you know, if you look at an ice cube, or reflecting the light in different ways, and this kind of gives you the kind of the hint or flavor of that. So it's not just taking a light blue marker and then just coloring Iceman in. It's sculpting, creating shadowy ice. Still leaving a lot of the white on the board. That's really important. So that it still has a white highlight to it, so it's not all light blue and gray. So want to keep the white of the board prevalent here, especially for a character like Iceman. You can also use this effect on the Silver Surfer. I tend to prefer to use a neutral gray for more of a metal, chromish sort of look, as opposed to the cool gray, but cool gray works as well. But since I do my Iceman with cool gray, I like to use the neutral gray for Silver Surfer to alleviate any character confusion. Who's my favorite member of the Fantastic Four? I'd probably say the Thing. I've always been a fan of the Thing since I was a little kid. I always thought he was a cool looking character. I liked that he looked like a monster but was really a sweet guy, and kind of guy who would stick up for you, who's true and loyal to his friends. So so that's one thing. That's probably why I really like the Thing. Now, of course, I like the other characters, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and Human Torch. I think they're all an integral part of the team. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably have to say my favorite is the Thing. I missed your question there about lines bleeding. Assuming you're asking, do my lines, the inked lines, bleed when I do my Copic colors? Generally, no. I rarely get bleeding. It's not to say it's impossible. Sometimes I do get bleeding, but it's pretty rare because Copic markers are made to work with multiliners, whether it be Copic multiliners or Pigma Micron pens. Now, the thing, if you're running into some bleeding or blurring or smearing effects with your art, which is what I can encounter sometimes, but usually I encounter that if I don't let the marker dry completely. So make sure the marker lines, the ink lines, dry completely before going into your colors. Kind of helps you develop a little bit of patience there. And also consider the type of paper you're using. If you're using like printer paper, that might not be the best style of paper. You want to use like a Bristol board. A Bristol board is what I use for these, and so I really rarely ever encounter smearing or bleeding of the Copic over the inked lines. So something to consider. What is the type of paper you're using, and are you allowing enough time for that ink, that marker line ink to dry before you go into your Copics? So I find if I let my marker, my pencil or my inked lines dry completely, then I'm not running into too much problem with bleeding and smearing, which can really stink if we get a bleed or smear going. Thanks for the kind words, guys. I appreciate the compliments there. Let's see. I'm going to cut in here now with some Cool 4. Oh, you're doing your own Periscope broadcast? Right on. Favorite band? Oh man, I got so many different favorite bands. Gosh, who would I say are some of my favorite bands? They Might Be Giants. REM. Hoodoo Gurus. The Connells. Big fan of the Connells. Aquabats. I've really been into the Aquabats of late. Actually got to meet and chat with the Aquabats at San Diego Comic-Con. Very cool guys. So if you ever get to go to an Aquabat show, you're going to have a lot of fun. Let's see. Current bands, I'd probably say there's a Passion Pit song out there that I really like. Walk the Moon. Like Walk the Moon. That Shut Up and Dance With Me song is a lot of fun. And yeah, so those are probably some of my favorite bands. So I switched back to the Cool 3 here. The Cool 4 was a little too dark here for the reapplication, so I toned it down one notch to sculpt in some fresh shadows. Do I enjoy creating my own characters? I sure do, yes. There's nothing like creating your own character. creating a character from scratch, coming up with who they are, what their personality is, what their design is, what their story is. Definitely enjoy creating my own characters, big time. Hope to get some more creator-owned projects out at some point in the not too distant future. So, been doing some writing just yesterday. So hopefully that's something I can make happen soon. So trying to keep up with the questions and comments here. Oh, you like the mystery art challenges on Comic Vine? Those are a lot of fun. In fact, a lot of those are here on YouTube. So if you enjoy seeing my art here on my channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, do a search for Mystery Art Challenge, and you can see more of my art from Comic Vine's Mystery Art Challenge, hosted by Comic Vine's Tony G-Man Guerrero. Always fun to see Tony at a convention. Always a pleasure to participate in his art challenge. Art challenges, I should say. I think I've done quite a few of those. Really throws you when he comes in and he says, "You ready for the challenge?" And it's like, "Okay, Tony, let's do it." And he gives me the character and the prop that I have to draw. Like this most recent one during San Diego Comic-Con was Ant-Man and a waffle. It's like, Ant-Man and a waffle, what am I going to do? Not only do I have to come up with something, I try to think of something that the other artists that will be participating in the art challenge haven't thought of or wouldn't have thought of. And man, wouldn't you know, more often than not, Joel Gomez comes up with the same thing I do. So he scooped me at least, I know 2 times for sure, and there's probably more times. So now it's the running joke between Tony and I. It's like, uh-oh, did Joel already go? All right. He's probably scooped me. He and I probably thought of the same thing. So we like to tease, to joke about that, Tony and I. I think Joel's in on the joke too now, because Tony and I joke about it so much. Now I'm coming in with a B01 here. It's a little bit more of a bluish punch. Kind of get a little more blue in the shadows, so it's a little more vibrant than the B000. And the lighting's bad in here, so I'm having a hard time seeing the comments and questions because the sun's starting to set through the window, so I'm not getting that backlighting, and my screen isn't set to as bright as it could be, and I don't want to stop the broadcast to adjust the brightness on my phone. So I apologize, I'm missing some of your comments there. But like I said, I'll do a quick Q&A here for the Periscopers. So as you can see here, it's just layering in shades of light blue and cool gray over and over each other to get that desired ice effect. Darker shades on the shadowy areas, or on the shadowy sides, and leaving wide open on the board. Apologize if I left part of this hand off of the camera view. Live TV. Working without a net. Annette couldn't make it in today, so she got the day off. There's an LOL. All right, I was wondering if that joke flopped. Probably did flop, but I appreciate the LOL. Alright, so that's kind of our general Iceman there. Oh, thank you for the rim shots as well for my joke. My kids aspire to become comic artists? I don't have any kids. It's just my wife and I. But if we did have kids, probably half of them would be artistically inclined. The other half would be probably inclined to write and read. Like my wife is a voracious reader. and has some fun writing skills. So now I'm just going to come into the ice effect here, his power signature, and just coming in straight in with the very light blue, the B000. This will help it stand out against his icy body, so there wouldn't be the same kind of shadows in the power signature as there would be in Iceman himself. How old am I? How old do you think I am? That would be an interesting response to see how old you guys think I am. Maybe you've seen my photo on the social networks. See how close people get. 22, I like it. 26, nice, nice. Any other guesses? See if anyone gets close. 31, 34, 39. Whoa, so many numbers here. Yikes. 40, 45, 38, 43 photo, 30 is? So you think I'm 43, but my photo makes me look 30? 905 years old. Ah, you guessed, I'm a Time Lord. I'm a Time Lord. I'm just cleared 900. Early 30s, 47, 9001. I'm a Time Lord. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of Time Lord here. You guys have seen me in my Doctor Who cosplay. Well, I'll say this. Some of y'all have gotten pretty close from what I can see. Or Metron, or Merton. I don't know. 38? I am 44. I'm 44 years old. 44 years young, let's put it that way. So, how long have you been doing comics? I've been doing comics for 21 years now. Broke in at Rob Liefeld's Extreme Studios. I broke in full time. I'd done some smaller stuff prior to that. But when I broke in full time, I was 22 years old. I just turned 23 when I moved out here to California. So I got hired at age 22, moved out to California right after I turned 23 years old. Do I have a dog? No, no dog. Yikes, a lot of questions and comments there. What all have I worked on? Let's see. If you're new to my work here, you might want to pick up some of my comics. I did the original Young Justice series, the one that was the cartoon that inspired the cartoon, not the actual cartoon version Young Justice, but the original Young Justice. Did pretty much the entire run of that series, all but 2 issues, plus some specials. So you don't want to miss that. I did Teen Titans, the comic book based on the original Teen Titans adventure cartoon called Teen Titans Go, before the current Teen Titans Go, so don't confuse those two. Let's see. Lots of work on Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Meets Obama comic, which a lot of people have and don't realize that I was the artist of that story. And, gosh, what else? Nightcrawler. I just did 12 issues of Nightcrawler for Marvel, which was a lot of fun. Love doing that. Nightcrawler's one of my favorite artists, or characters. Chris Claremont was one of the first writers I read regularly as a kid, and now to have become friends with a writing legend like Chris Claremont, complete honor. I really like Chris. It's been very cool to me over the course of the run of our series. And then I also did work for Robert Kirkman, the Walking Dead guy, on his superhero comics, Invincible and Invincible Universe. So that's just the tip of the iceberg of some of the stuff I've done. Oh, and of course my creator-owned series, Wild Guard, which are 12 comics out there that you can track down. The first miniseries, Casting Call, is in trade paperback, and you can probably find that on Amazon.com or on eBay for a pretty reasonable price. So, so you definitely want to check that out. So that's some of the credits of my career, but a lot of other stuff as well. So much other stuff. Not even including the stuff I've drawn for TV, for like ESPN or Extreme Makeover Home Edition. My artwork appeared on those shows, not me, but my artwork also appeared on, what's it, that King of the Nerds show, Season 2. You can see Wild Guard posters in that show. So, all sorts of stuff. Alright, so this is pretty much the how I approach ice the ice texture and colors is the, like I said, the light blues with the cool grays. Actually, starting with the cool grays first and then coming in with the light blues on top of that. And then you just sculpt it in, layering in those colors and blending them together. So I might throw a background color in here, but we'll stop the broadcast for now, or at least the art part of the broadcast. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll do, and if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing to my channel.